Welcome home, Lord Aints. Aints hadn't he been to his room in a couple of weeks. Albedo's next words completely drained him of the will to do anything. Would you like something to eat, or a bath, or maybe me? Aints imagined a wild dance of hearts behind her head. What else with the act? I am playing newlyweds, Lord Aints. When the husband takes his pet and goes to his new job assignment alone, there is no better way for his bride to welcome him home than this, or so I've heard. How is it? So this was why she hadn't met him on the ground level. He wanted to respond with an I care why, but he never even dated a woman, much less married one, so he swallowed the comment. He had to keep up appearances. Masculine pride welled up inside him. What kind of reply does she expect anyway? He wasn't confident, but he gave a benign response as if he were. It was pretty attractive, Albedo. She smiled happily and said, good. Tee-hee-hee. Being on the receiving end of such a charming smile, he lowered his center of gravity slightly, preparing for action. He felt something creeping up his back like a snake. It was probably the animal lust reflected deep within Albedo's eyes, but their golden glimmer was deadly serious. If he even joked that he wanted her, she would take it as a promise and descend on him like a beast of intense carnal desire. Thoughts of sexual assault flickered through his mind. He lost nearly all his physical desires, but the clinging vestiges begged to go along with Albedo's mood to see what would happen next. And his spirit of curiosity, which he hadn't lost, spurred him on. Stop it, you fool. It was not with his spirit of self-denial, but with some similar power surely related to being undead, that he managed to ignore her intentions. Before they'd been transporting to this other world, he warped her personality by editing her backstory as a joke, to say she was in love with him. But now he couldn't make a move, even though he was already using her in plenty of other ways. In a corner of his heart, he hated himself. He thought, it's not like I can swing if I don't have a bat. He didn't think relationships between men and women could go well based on a mental connection alone. Maybe that's why he was scared, thought Aints the Virgin. There was another thing. The NPC his old friend had made was, in a way, a child. He wondered briefly if he was right to sully or warp her any more than he already had. He asked himself, are you stupid? This isn't what you need to be thinking about right now. The sudden shout from Albedo caused the flames in his empty eye sockets to flare. What is it, Albedo? What happened? I've made an error. It is proper etiquette for a new wife to meet her husband wearing nothing but an apron, apparently. She checked her dress and blushed before speaking again. If you order me to change, I will do so immediately. She glanced at him, and her quiet but awfully distinct voice continued, right in front of you. Right, NGH. Geez, he sighed. Albedo, it's about time we quit fooling around. Let us start the report meeting and exchange information. Yes, my lord. Regretfully though for what, he wasn't sure. Aints did his best to ignore her and thunked down into his chair. He tossed 3 leather bags onto the table. In moments, Albedo had shifted from horny bride to outstanding secretary, ready to receive Aints' instructions. First, I am handing over the money I made in Rantel, so put it toward experiments. The bags were different sizes, and the biggest was so full it was nearly overflowing. Inside were the gold, silver, and copper coins Aints had earned as an adventurer. Understood. Then I'll use this for Nazarik's defense systems and testing whether we can summon monsters or not. Please do. Also check if you can use it for creating scrolls or crafting items. He looked away from Albedo's deeply bowed head and gazed at the leather bags with an emotion resembling a prayer. Gold coins earned in the game Yggdrasil could be used not only to buy items, but also to maintain and manage one's guild, summon monsters over level 30 that didn't spawn automatically, cast some spells, craft items, and resurrect dead NPCs, among other things. They'd already confirmed that they could use Yggdrasil gold coins, but they hadn't determined whether they could use this world's currency, especially silver and copper coins, which didn't exist in Yggdrasil. It wasn't too much to say Nazarik's fate depended on these experiments. If the coins in this world worked like Yggdrasil gold, their plans would change significantly. The importance of obtaining this world's currency would increase drastically. Depending on the situation, Aints might have to suddenly make acquiring money the highest priority, but if they couldn't use the coins, the resources in the treasury would be their only lifeline. They have to start budgeting. Then about Clementine, at the name of the corpse that had disappeared, Aintz's face grimaced. He was worried that because of his mistake, she'd been resurrected. She might now be sharing intelligence on Nazarick with many people. Nazarick had many potential enemies, but they'd been able to get relatively little information. Aints had gone and leaked Nazarick's info. With luck, it might reach some guild members. There might be some around, but it would be a mistake to expect that kind of luck. He had to be careful from now on. What should he do about Momon? If someone were after them, Momon would be the target. Aints was building a foothold, so it would be a waste to abandon the persona now. It was still too early to let people know that Momon and Aints were one and the same. All he could do was play it by ear. Forced into a mental dead end no matter how much he pondered, there was no easy answer. He set the issue aside for the moment and considered other things. I think I might tell Pandora's actor to throw one of Clementine's swords into the shredder. Shredder? Albedo asked, puzzled. Aints remembered its official name. The exchange box. Someone with merchant skills can get a higher price using it, so I'll have Pandora's actor take on Nierata's form and use his skills. Watching Albedo bow her head in acknowledgement, Aints proceeded to unroll a piece of parchment on the table. One other thing. Here's the world map I finally got my hands on in Rantel. This is whom he knew why Albedo was frowning slightly. The map wasn't very detailed. I understand how you feel. It only covers this area, just a part of the world. The scaling is probably off, and a lot of geographical features are missing. Plus, it mainly shows human countries. There's only one subhuman nation on here. It's totally sloppy, but it seems like this is the best we can get. Aints had learned about many places from the head of the Wizards Guild, thanks to their budding friendship. For example, there were the plains where the Centaur tribes resided, the Papixag Scorpion people villages in the desert, and the mountains where the dwarves had built their country. But the parchment showed none of these. In the end, this map was nothing more than a tool for the convenience of humans. It was created by humans for humans. A map was unusable if it wasn't reliably accurate, but a better one would be hard to get without massive investments of time and money. Theo Rakishia had said so, and given how friendly the wizard leader was being with Aints, it must have been the truth. Aints could tell from his response that getting this map had been a nearly impossible request. Understood. Then let us copy this and pass it out to all the Guardians. Yeah, but before we do that, let me give you a simple explanation. Aints pointed to the middle of the map. The drawing was fairly detailed. This is Rantel. The great tomb of Nazarick is around here. He moved his finger to the northeast, stopping near a huge forest. It was only natural, but he could pick out Nazarick's location from the surrounding topography with a fair amount of confidence. These are the Azalizia Mountains. They form the border between the Rey Estais Kingdom and the Baharuth Empire. The Tove woodlands extend from their southern edge and wrap around them. And here lies a big lake. Between the southern tip of the mountains and the woodlands was a lake shaped like an upside-down gourd. It was formed by the rivers running down the mountains, and Aints's finger stopped at its southern shore. There's a large marsh. Several Lizardmen villages are situated here. Aints noted Albedo's nod and continued. Now I'll pass on the brief descriptions of our neighboring countries. The head of the Wizards Guild gave them to me. To the northwest of the kingdom is a rugged region. Several mountain ranges divide this area. This is the Argland Council State. It is home to multiple subhuman races. We need to watch out for the Dragon Counselors. There are said to be 5 or 7 of them. Then to the southwest is a place called the Sacred Kingdom. It is fairly rough on this map, but apparently a giant rampart surrounds their country. It is like the Great Wall of China. They are always on guard against threats from this wasteland. Although it isn't marked on the map, different subhuman races are constantly fighting there. That is where Demiurge went, right? Yeah. And then on the other side is the slain theocracy. We need to watch out for them. Is this the border? Albedo traced a line with a delicate finger. Maybe. Honestly, the boundaries drawn here don't mean much. The map is too rough. Okay, let us look at the Empire's side. Northeast from the Empire, there are several allied city-states. There is supposedly at least one subhuman city-state as well. Then to the southwest of the Empire is an area with giant quartzite pillars. It seems there is a race of humans there. A Apparently they tame wyverns and live in the numerous caves. From what Aints had heard, it sounded like a place like Wulingyuan, but the details were unclear. Wyvern riders. In Yggdrasil, wyverns were beasts with levels in the late 30s. Players with mounted soldier classes could call upon and ride them, but he had no proof they were the same in this world. Yeah, they were probably pretty strong, but even if they are, I am not worried about them attacking the Great Tomb. But below that, this map cuts off around the eastern part of this huge lake. Aints indicated a place on the table instead of the map. Supposedly there is a country called the Dragon Kingdom here. Dragons? Yeah, legends say the powerful dragons of old created that country, and the royalty there still has dragon blood flowing in their veins. I have no idea if that is true or not, but anyway, that is it for the map. In the world where Aints went by the name Satoru Suzuki, this would all sound like lies, but in this world, it could very well be true. So the countries we should look out for are the Slain Theocracy and the Argland Council State. Aints crossed his arms and hummed. This was basically all they knew about the surrounding polities, but that was mainly because they hadn't collected enough information. Albedo slowly bowed her head. Excuse my error. At present, we should be on guard against every country, shouldn't we? That is right. Even if a country itself doesn't seem like an issue, you never know what kind of individuals you'll find inside. Like the one who used a world item on Sholtia. It seemed like Albedo understood without him saying it aloud. Aints tapped the table at two locations, one in the east and one in the south. In the east, there is a city that rises out of the sea, and in the south, there is the city the 8 kings of avarice built. These are probably the cities we have to watch out for the most, especially the latter. It is a floating city in the middle of the desert. Floating city. If the story I heard is correct, it is beneath a floating castle that pours an infinite amount of water. Apparently the whole city is surrounded by a magic barrier, so you'd never think it was in a desert. A cold glint appeared in Albedo's eyes. She made her proposal in a rather restrained tone. Should we have some minions conduct a reconnaissance in force? We don't need to go stepping on a tiger's tail. Even if whoever used the world item came from there, we should pretend to be agreeable until we figure out how strong they are. How is Sholtia doing? There is nothing physically wrong with her after the resurrection, but don't mince words. Even I get anxious, you know. My deepest apologies. The truth is, I'm a little worried about her, mentally speaking. Are there lingering effects from the mind control? Does the world item still affect her after we killed and resurrected her? No, it is not that. It seems like she is unable to forgive herself for fighting you. Aints was confused for a moment. Everything had been due to his error. Sholtia had done nothing wrong. He told her that many times. If you'll forgive me the rudeness of speaking against your decision, Aints nodded at her serious expression. Perhaps you should have punished her. The red sparks in his eye sockets dulled. He opened his mouth, then closed it as she continued. Clear rewards and punishment keep all in order. If you punish her, her guilt will disappear. Without penance, she stays unable to come to terms with her crime. I see, thought Aints. It was true that rewards existed as the reverse of punishment. But Aints had been a normal company employee, so he had a hard time judging when to reprimand and when to forgive. His normal self would avoid the issue entirely by excusing everything. In that case, he felt a bit bad for Sholtia, but providing retribution might be good practice for him. Got it. I'll come up with some punishment for her. I think that is for the best. Do forgive me for my outspoken behavior. What are you talking about? I want suggestions like this. I've been wishing someone would give me opinions when I am not sure what to do. Albedo, as the captain of the Floor Guardians, it is entirely appropriate. Thank you. The peerless beauty's cheeks reddened, and she bowed with moist eyes. Aints was flustered by her expression of genuine happiness and responded with a benevolent wave. Okay, I am going to go back for now and get some work done. I'll leave things here up to you. Yes, please do. While you're gone, I'll take responsibility for managing everything. He thought he heard something in a low voice about being his wife, but he let it go because Albedo still had more to say. But Lord Aints, please be careful. We can be certain that the one who controlled Sholtia won't launch another attack. HMPH, Aints looked displeased for the first time since returning to his room. If they do, I'll kick their ass, though it might not be that easy. But don't worry, Albedo, our enemy is unknown. I intend to prioritize retreat if I encounter them, and I've readied some protection. Aints looked slowly up at the ceiling, his mind on their supposed enemy. The unknown world item holder must be their enemy. There were also the other Yggdrasil players who may or may not exist, and the shadows of players who must have been here once. Of course, it was too soon to conclude they were all enemies, but operating under that assumption would keep them from getting caught unawares later. Always expect the worst. Until we know who they are, let us keep a low profile, but we might need to lay out some bait to catch our prey. So how's the plan going? Albedo's reluctance to meet his gaze gave Ain't some idea. There's no report from Cocytus. According to Entoma, nothing is outside of what we anticipated. I think they'll get into formation soon near the target location and send the forewarning. I see not exactly what I was hoping to hear, but I guess we'll see what comes of it. It helps us if you can see it that way. Okay, really, I'd like to take a look at how things are going. Unfortunately, I've got a pile of adventurer work to do, so I have to go. But I want to see how the fight goes, so record it for me. The Lizardmen versus the army of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. The Great Tove woodlands stretched across the southern foothills of the Azalizia Mountains. These mountains served as a natural border between the Baharuth Empire and the Rey Estais Kingdom. North of the forest was a huge lake. This body of water was shaped like an inverted calabash. It was split into an upper and a lower lake, with a diameter of about 24 miles. The deeper upper lake was home to larger creatures, while smaller life forms dwelled in the lower portion. Where the lower lake merged with wetlands to the south, numerous buildings stood in the Everglade. Each building had a foundation of about 10 stilts set into the marsh. It was the type of structure people often built to live over water. The door to one of those buildings opened. The master of the house came out into the sunlight. He was a lizardman. Lizardmen resembled a cross between a reptile and a human. More specifically, they were lizards that had hands and feet like humans. They walked on two legs, though their heads had almost no human features. Most classified these creatures as subhumans. They were similar to goblins and orcs. Their civilization was less advanced than humans. Though their way of life was often considered barbaric, they still had their own culture. It was an unrefined culture, but a culture nonetheless. The average height of an adult male lizardman was about 6'3". Their weight was easily over 220 pounds, not from fat, but because they boasted fairly robust physiques with bulging muscles. To help keep them balanced, they had long reptilian tails growing from their lower backs. Over the course of their evolution, geared toward ease of movement in the wetlands, they had developed broad webbed feet. This did give them a little trouble moving around on land, but it was not a problem for their everyday lives. Their scales ranged in color from a dark green to gray or even black. These scales were not like lizards, but hornier, like alligators. They were harder than the weakest armors of humans. Their hands had 5 fingers like human hands, though their fingers ended in short claws. The weapons they wielded with those hands were extremely primitive. Since they didn't have many opportunities to acquire metal ore in the marsh, most of the weapons they used were spears made with monster fangs or claws, or blunt stone weapons. The sky was a single clear shade of blue, and the sun shone brilliantly near its zenith. The weather was nice, with only a wisp of white clouds like the brushstrokes of a painter over a clear view of the mountains thrusting up in the distance. Because lizardmen had such a wide field of vision, Zayusu Shasha could see the blinding sun without moving his head. Narrowing his eyes to vertical slits, he rhythmically descended the stoop. He scratched the brand on his black-scaled chest. The mark indicated his position within his tribe. Lizardmen tribes had created an organized caste society. At the top was the tribal chief. Their leaders were not selected based on bloodline. Instead, the strongest lizardman became chief. The ceremony to choose the chief was held every few years. Then came the Council of Elders. It was made up of selected seniors. Beneath them, society consisted of the warrior caste. Then came the normal males, the females, and the children. Of course, some lizardmen did not fit into this hierarchy. First, there were the druid priests. They supported the tribe by predicting the weather, forecasting danger, and using healing magic. There were also hunting parties made up of rangers. Their primary role was fishing and hunting. However, since the regular lizardmen cooperated with them on that, their most important work was in the forest. Lizardmen were basically omnivorous, but fish made up 80% of their diet. They didn't eat many plants or fruit.